about 10-second count off, and then we live.
Welcome to After the Buzzer Sports Podcast, the show that's all about real sports and the real issues. We've got a great show in store for you today, so make sure you go to YouTube, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Let's go.
What's up, guys? What's up, guys, out there in After the Buzzers land? We got a great show for you guys today. As usual, I'm your man, Marvin Orange. We got Lee Jones. We got another special guest with us today. I know some of you who followed us have seen him before, but he graced us with his presence today. Mr. Teddy Keaton, head men's football coach at Allen University. Coach Keaton, appreciate you joining us.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
All right. Just a quick note, guys. Starting Wednesday the 19th, we're going to be moving to 8 o'clock. We're going to be going from 8 to 9 on Wednesday the 19th, and then therefore moving forward, we're going to be going Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. So make a note of that, our new times. Again, on the 19th, we're going to be starting at 8 o'clock, going from 8 to 9. And then moving forward, will be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. So just want to give you guys a quick note on kind of how the show is moving and what we're deciding to do. So let's get into some of these topics. Let's make a quick rundown. We got the status of high school football in Ohio still up in the air. The top-ranked prospect in Ohio who has committed to Ohio State said he's going to forego his senior season and go ahead and enroll in Ohio State. What do you guys think about this? Do you think this is a transition for other guys to do the same thing? Syracuse football in the news. Some of the players are opting out, not wanting to practice because of COVID-19 concerns. The college wants to test bi-weekly during camp and twice a week during the season. Some players feel like that's not enough. Let's weigh in, see what you guys think about that. Will college football champion be a legitimate champion next year, considering that the Pac-12 and the Big Ten are not participating and not playing? Do you guys think it's going to be a legitimate champion? I already know what some people are going to say about that, but I do think it's something good that we need to kind of chime in on. NCAA President Mark Emmert said Thursday the NCAA champions won't be because there's not enough schools participating due to the ongoing concerns of COVID-19 and the pandemic. The decision that affects 22 championships, including FCS football. What do you guys think about this decision from the NCAA? Let's have a conversation about that moving forward. Also, I knew we had to get a Dallas thing in here for Mr. Lee Jones, but can Jerry Jones, the NFL's most powerful owner, remain a staple of the league's public image at a time when the league is trying to reshape its image? I'm really interested to hear what Lee Dak Prescott Jones got to say about that one. Also, keeping it in the Cowboy family, we got Michael Irvin. He said the Cowboys drafting CeeDee Lamb. Now, make sure y'all hear this, right? He said drafting CeeDee Lamb is like adding to the Cowboys offense is similar to when Golden State added Kevin Durant to that staff, to that squad. So
I want to hear what you got to say about that, Mark.
Yeah, please do. Y'all really need to hear what I got to say about that. But we'll dive into that one. Also, today we got Memphis Grizzlies in Portland playing the HC playing game. We want to see how you guys feel about that. What do you think the outcome is going to be? Really interesting how the NBA did this. So let's weigh in on your thoughts with that. And if Portland wins the play-in series, which I think a lot of people are assuming that they will, what are their chances of making a significant run in the NBA playoffs? What do you guys think about that, considering what we saw from Dame Dollar, kind of his exploits here recently? How you guys think they'll make a run in the NBA? Then we're going to kind of go back into the NBA awards. What are your thoughts about most valuable player, rookie of the year, defensive player of the year, most improved, and sixth man of the year? So we're going to dive into all these things with Coach Keaton, see what he thinks about some of these things. 803-570-5031. How you can hit us up. Remember, Facebook, YouTube, please subscribe to us. Let's dive in. The number one high school recruit in Ohio said he's going to skip his senior year of high school and he's going to roll early at Ohio State. Let's dive into this one. Lee, get us started. What your thoughts are about this?
Yeah, I don't know if Ohio, the state, is going to have football. I don't think that they've been non-committal or committed on that. It's interesting because if they did have a season, it'd be big news. I mean, if they did have a season, if they don't, it's just status quo, and he's just trying to, get to Ohio State as soon as possible. But it stays on the trend of young people, and that's what I'm most interested in, starting to empower themselves and making life choices and life decisions. And I think that for me is the major point that I get from it. I mean, start to take control of your lives. When you're the number one player in any sport, getting ready to make your decision about college or possibly going into the pros, take into consideration how it affects your family and the people around you and make the best decision for you. Don't stay status quo as we've had in the past, doing the status quo or politically correct thing to do is play out the season and then go to outside. Do what's best for your family. And I think this era of empowerment for young people is very important. And I commend the guy for making the choice. We just need to know what Ohio is going to do in football.
Coach, what's your thoughts, man?
I agree with Lee. I think he did a great job. I mean, obviously they're not playing football, so he's done his lesson to graduate from high school. So he's taking command of his career. And I'm gonna go ahead and start getting into the workout, start being around the team, doing the things. I think if a lot of those players that are top recruits now are realizing that if we're not having a senior season, it does not benefit me to stay around without a weight room program, without the organizational stuff that they need to be able to be doing, learning the terminology of the offense and the defense or whatever side of the ball they play on. I think he did a great job. I think you're going to see this going forward with a lot of those Power 5 schools who got top draft picks. I mean, not draft picks, but recruits. Instead of them staying in school, they're going to go ahead and try to enroll in college so they can get ahead of the game so that they don't miss anything. Because if you really look at it, if he stays at school, he's going to really be behind when he gets there because he's not playing ball anyway.
Do you guys think that this becomes the new normal? Because I think that there's 2 other players that have signed with Ohio State who have decided to do this as well, if I'm not mistaken. I've seen some other players who are talking about opting out. Plus the kid, from what I understand, he tore his MCL maybe last year. So he had an injury that, you know, why risk another year of playing high school football when you're already number 1 recruit in the state? And let's put on top of this, look, Ohio State, you got the Bosa brothers at defensive end. You got Chase Young. They've been known to develop great defensive ends. So, you know, this is about going and developing your game and developing your talent. So what is the upside of playing another year high school football? And especially to your point, when Ohio hasn't decided what they've wanted to do. So do you think this is going to change the landscape of high school football moving forward, you guys? Or do you think this is just right now because of how everything is just kind of up in the air?
Go ahead,
The pandemic. That's the only reason why they're doing it. I mean, think about it in this way. If it was a season to play, he would want to try to keep sharpening his skills because they only have their junior tape. But if this wasn't a pandemic, this wouldn't even be a conversation, as Lee stated. You know, if they were playing football, we wouldn't even be talking about this because ain't no kid going to forego his senior year and not that good. But see, and then another case, this guy has had an injury and different things of that nature there. So it's important for him to understand that I need to take it while somebody want me, because there might be 15 other schools that come along, and by the time I get to the May year, he may not be an Ohio State recruit anymore. He might be an Allen University recruit. Just throwing it out.
Little plug out there, little plug.
I agree with you. Trend mob, I don't think so. I think people are going to normally play their high school season, but for now, I commend all the guys on taking control of their future and putting themselves in the best light possible as they transition to college.
Yeah, I agree. But I was just thinking in terms of, they get these guys in high school now on those tracks to graduate really early. And if you already know you a top 10 recruit, I don't think another year of high school or playing that high school year is really going to change much. I mean, it can only really hurt you, right? So do you see some guys maybe saying, hey, I'm on the track to graduate real. I get on campus early. I can compete for a starting spot as a freshman. I mean, maybe some guys start to think about it this way because, traditionally.
They do it in basketball all the time.
Yeah.
They classify, and they go early. And there have been football players that have done that reclassify so they can start early. The trend didn't – it's been going on for a number of years where a few people have done that. Hey, for me, if let's say you're a quarterback or a wide receiver coach and the skill position, I would say the trenches, the linemen, you might want to stay there for that senior year, but the skill position, especially for me, a wide receiver, 18 or 19, that's the same guy. Other than the fact when y'all get them in the weight room, coach, y'all develop their bodies. But that may happen, and Marv, it could catch on. It's just because basketball, that's a common thing in basketball for them to reclassify.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a hard thing to talk about at the present time, but I don't see it becoming a trend in football because I've been a part of it for a long time, and that's one of those things that we don't want. We talk about the basketball fiasco, and it doesn't give the kids a chance to properly develop the weight room and being around their teammates. So if they do leave, it'll be after their season. And I think in high school, a lot of the coaches are getting upset because at the 4, 3, 2, and 1A schools, a lot of these kids, they depend on them to play multiple sports. So they don't encourage them to leave because they play basketball, baseball, track, the whole nine. So at those big schools, these powerhouse schools that they're starting to develop now, these 6A and 7A schools, they can afford to just play football and then turn around in January and go to college. But now that's going to cause for a restructuring of the educational process of the classes and how you take them and the whole nine in order for them to graduate in December. It's almost going to become like a junior college with quarter system and getting enough hours to be able to walk in December and being able to join your team in January.
So in other words, Coach, what you telling me is hell no.
No, don't mess with my players.
I'm just thinking about it as I say, I tell Lee all the time, I have to put my administration hat on and not thinking as a coach. Because when you think like a coach, hell yeah, I want him to come. But at the administration side of it, you have to think that this kid is being taken away from certain things. And it's a big piece to this that I know from my comrades, we all talk about this a lot. And we don't like the basketball model and how they can leave, they can forego, and just walk away and okay, we're done here.
Right.
I don't like it either.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, moving on. Let's move on here. We got Syracuse football. We have some players at Syracuse who have opted out of practice because of COVID-19 concerns. The college wants to test bi-weekly during camp and twice a week during the season. How do you feel about these players opting out of practicing and moving forward? Coach, what's your thoughts about this to start?
It's their decision. I think you should have a choice. You're an amateur. They like to throw that out there. If I'm an amateur, I got a choice in this matter. If I don't want to play, I shouldn't have to play. And I think if we would have played here at Allen University, guess what I would have gave them? There's a choice. If you want to come to practice and you want to participate, guys, it's their livelihood.
Yeah.
If some of these guys think that they're going to make it to the NFL, some of these guys, even if the XFL is going to become bigger, I really believe it's going to be a bigger program. They got an opportunity to do that too now. So you think about all the things you've read about what it may do to you as a human being. It say may. It didn't say it would, but may. But just to have that cloud over your head, knowing that I'm out here putting myself at risk, and this is a choice I'm making to do with, I could forego everything I want to do in my future. I could mess up my life forever. I could be on a breathing machine. I could never be able to function and cut my grass without passing out in the backyard because I can't get enough breath to do it. So it's bigger than the sport. I think they have a choice.
Yeah.
It's like I said with Lee a few weeks back when we were speaking on the fact that we were talking about playing professional football and basketball and baseball. That's their job. These kids' job is to go to college, to play football. That's a part of the carrot that we dangle in front of you. But if it's going to put me in an unsafe environment, I feel like they have the choice to opt out if that's what they want to do.
So let me ask you guys, because both of you, play an administrative role in the things that you do. What do you think about the fact that Syracuse is a private university, in the fact that they don't have to release their testing data? They don't have to share the things that they do because they are a private university, unlike, Florida State and some of the other schools that we have. And I think some of the main concerns from these players were the fact that the real story wasn't being told about how things are moving forward. So I mean, how do you guys, you know, and I think that the biggest concern for them is that everyone isn't testing on the same plane. Everyone isn't on the same playing field when it comes to this. So, you know, I do think that their concerns are legitimate, but, you know, from a private school perspective to some that are state schools, I mean, how you guys feel kind of about that and what they're saying?
The optics are bad, Marv. I mean, you know, I mean, come on. Yeah, you're a private school, but that's one of the things that why the students started boycotting practice. I mean, we don't know our results sometimes. We don't know when you're testing us bi-weekly while we're in camp. What bi-weekly testing going to do? I mean, really, what is testing them bi-weekly going to do? I mean, then you say we're going to test you twice a week. Look. It's a private school, but it's in the Atlantic Coast Conference, right? So you have to follow the trend that the conference is doing, right? And so, you know me, Mark, my thing has always been this. I want the game to come back, but I want it to come back safely. You know, when you look at the NFL and I don't compare what I do, but as far as how you make it safe, there is no difference, right? You know, you have to be able to test these guys multiply. The positivity rate for the NFL is 0.46. Now we have to grasp that. You know, you got in Arizona at one point it was 25%, but the NFL testing they've tested 109,000 tests. It's 0.46. So there's a comfort level of having two football teams on the field if your positivity rate is 0.46. If colleges are serious about playing, you have to take that model and take the NFL's lead as far as getting this thing together. Players have a right to be upset because, as Coach said, you're jeopardizing my life and my livelihood. Do the right thing, colleges. Spend the money. The Atlantic Coast Conference made almost $700 million last year in athletics. Do the right thing with testing so these guys can safely, in their mind, say, I can go out and play. And so Florida State is another school that's having issues around the testing and transparency. So yeah, I agree with you. It's like just because you're private and you don't have to do it shouldn't mean that you shouldn't let these parents and these players have a comfort level about getting out on the football field.
And Coach, before you add to this, let me add one more thing to this. Is this an economic question? So Syracuse made what, 41 million last year, I think it was. Clemson made like 52, Florida State 87, Notre Dame, which isn't part of it, you know, juxtaposed to that, made 107 million. Like we're on different levels here in terms of, so maybe Syracuse, is this an ACC that implements this and says this is the testing that we're going to put for every school, or is it a university's responsibility to, you know, that's why I got y'all here, so you can educate me on how this really does work, because I'm thinking maybe this is economic.
The NCAA is just the governing body. The conferences run what you do. They set the standard of what every school in their conference has to do. As Lee pointed out, that they may be a private institution, but they join they in the AAC or whatever they belong to. They have to report to them what they want if they want to remain in that conference. I don't think it's an economical thing. I think if, as some presidents, they don't want to spend, they try to find a bottom line to say, this is how much we're going to spend. And if it's going to take away from that, then they're looking at it like, we got to do the least as possible. And there's a small thing here I want to hit on, integrity of the coach. We're talking about sometimes in the athletic trainer, the coaches, the whole nine. Some people will not be tested on the same thing. If I got a game and I'm playing Clemson this week and my quarterback came back positive, the only people that's going to know that because of HIPAA law is the doctor, the trainer, and the head coach.
Didn't I say that before, Lee? I said that before.
The HIPAA laws are not going to allow it to be broadcast first.
And the player. And that's why you go to jail at right now. That's why you get prosecuted as a coach right there.
Yeah, but I'm saying this is some integrity. It happens when people get hurt. You got to make a stern decision. Am I going to go? I'm going to play Clemson, the number one team in the country this week, and I need my star quarterback, and then they'll have a chance to win. So now that's where your integrity comes into play, and be like, well, can you play? You cough? You ain't got no symptoms. but that's all individuality choices. Now, that's why I think some of the players, I think there's a lack of trust between the players and the coaches, the locker room, and the university. They don't trust it. So whatever's happened in the past, there's some lack of trust there that they would make me go in and shoot my big toe up because I got turf toe just to play a game in order for me to win. My arm been hurting for 2 weeks. It's broke. It's got a fracture in it. They rather wrap it up in a cast and let me continue to play in it. So what makes you think that I won't make a guy go out here that has no symptoms? He's healthy. He's running around. He can play. He just those asymptomatic people. What make me think they won't put me out there? And then I pass it on to everybody else. Or I turn around and have symptoms the next week and I'm sick as a dog.
Yep.
Now. So that's where you get the problem at. And I think that's the problem with kids now. And then the Black Lives Matter thing didn't come along. When that came along, it started making people start thinking things that make you say, So a lot of the things that were touched on is now these kids are thinking about themselves. As you said, Lee Jones, they are empowering themselves now. So now they really looking at what can I do? And at one point in time, it was just shut up and dribble. Now it's like, okay, no, you shut up and listen to what I gotta say.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know.
And back in the day, especially when I played, we would have never thought about pushing this issue, right? I mean, I played on a broken ankle almost one time. They put a little air cast on and said, you can play. You never would have thought about questioning this, but you bring up a good point. We're in a new day and time, and players are starting to learn that they do have a voice in their work, and they messing up the whole model. And these universities and these coaches, you messing up how good we've been eating over the, to take you out of the equation, coach. But how good we've been eating, off of this free labor for so long. They're messing up the whole model. Go ahead, Lee. I know you're gonna say something.
Well, just real quick, and I know we got to move on. I looked at the top 20 as far as football programs, as far as the amount of revenue, net income that they generate. 6 out of the top 20 was SEC schools, Mark. Yeah. And when I added it up, it was over $230 million just from those 6, right? And so you're right, and Coach is right when he says, how much money do we want to expend on this testing stuff? And I've said it for weeks, Mark. To me, if you want to play sports safely, there's a model to do it. Now, will you invest in that model and spend that money to get it done? I'm not a proponent of having people out there exposed, right? So if you want to play, and the NFL said we're going to play, we're going to get all this TV money, and we're going to keep the gravy train going down the field. College sports, they ain't there yet, because, like you said, Coach, that stand-up model with those kids in the Pac-10 and the Big Ten. Wait a minute, we don't know how we want to handle that right now. And then this other thing with Syracuse, well, we don't have to tell you, so we're not, or we don't have to make it public, so we're not. Come on. This is a young person's life. So have some transparency and some consistency, and it certainly ain't testing someone bi-weekly for the COVID-19.
No. Absolutely. All right.
But it's like we at Stillman, we bought our kids back. We made a conscious choice to do that. But we've invested a lot of money in testing stations, facial recognition, all this simple, the test fast kits. And we know that we don't have that kind of money. But like Lee said, it's an investment. Lee needed a new computer. He wanted a new computer, so he went and made an investment into it. But I think some of these presidents and some of these conference commissioners are looking at that bottom line number and saying it will cost us $2.5, $3 million, $4 million to do this weekly. We're not talking about if you're doing it 2 times a week, just to set up a testing site at our school, every time we set it up was $2,800. No matter if one person showed up or nobody showed up. So you're talking about doing that twice a week, and then you got all these other protocols that you have to follow. It's a lot of money that's got to be spent out. So you're talking about you might get somewhere to the near $100 million. I mean, at least close to $100 million if you had to do all your sports all year round.
Yeah. The other thing, real quick, Mark, and I want to get Coach's opinion on this. Yeah. I say this: football and basketball are your cash cows in this COVID environment, and we know that those programs generate money for all the other fall sports. I'm not playing the other fall sports. I'm playing football and I'm playing basketball, And somebody's just gonna have to understand that. The NFL spent $75 million for those people for BioReference to do their testing. 75 million. So as a conference, and I don't know the answer to this, but as a conference, can the Big Ten afford to pay 75, $80 million to test all of their players in a reasonable amount of time and get those tests back rapidly? That's the question. That's the $1 million question that some of these conferences have not even been talking about. And that's what I would want to know.
But you understand they can't afford it. When the bottom line is 70 million, I made $700 million as a conference. 75 million ain't that much to take away from the pot, but in their eyes, that's a lot of money. In their eyes, I ain't spending 75 million on it, but that's just what it is.
Yeah.
You got a point, Lee. I mean, the point of it is do I want to make a conscious decision to invest in protecting my student athletes and protecting the people that serve what you want?
Yep.
And like I said, it's not hard. The basketball team got it right. The hockey team, they got it right. The NFL is starting to shape theirs to get it right because they want to be able to put a sport out there that's going to be, and those guys that opted out, once they see the plan and how it goes, some of those guys going to fall back into the fold because they're going to say, well, it's working. I can do this because they got stuff in place. But when you don't have a plan, that puts people in a lot of scare mode there.
Yeah.
Well, you know, at the end of the day, the powers that be in college football, it turns into all it costs me for these players is a scholarship, a yearly scholarship. I'm fine with that because that keeps allowing me to pocket and live good and do all the things I've done. But now there's a whole different element we got dealing. So now it really shows, are you really about the well-being of your student athletes? It was good when all I had to offer you was a scholarship and that's all I had to pay. Now it's about, you know, putting something more out there to help keep these players safe, and they're not doing it. So, you know, if I'm a player, that says all I really need to know. Keeping you out of that conversation as well, Coach. So, moving on, we got the college football champion. Will it be legitimate if the Pac-12 and the Big Ten are not competing in this football season? Do you guys think that we can say that we have a legitimate college football champion?
No, absolutely not. The reason why I say is because it'll be a watered down version of them pleasing the fans. That's not the whole. I mean, how could you wear that ring? How could you walk around and say, I didn't even play half of the schools in the country, and this is what we watered it down to play a championship on? That's like going out and everybody forfeit their game and you end up in the championship game. Come on, that's not fair. That's not private. You didn't work to get that.
I mean, Lee, listen. I'm gonna say something real quick because I know Lee got some. I mean, yeah, that sounds good in theory, Coach, and I'm with you. I believe if you play a season, there's a championship to be won. If you win it, you're the champion. But let me add a little more to that, though. I mean, since the college football playoff has been introduced, I don't think anybody outside of the SEC or ACC has won it. They're not even won a game. I think everybody else outside of that is 0-9.
Yeah,
so,
in the last 5 years.
In the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the SEC, ACC Invitational. Really, it's the SEC with one Big 12 team or one Pac-12 team and Clemson. I mean, basically every year. So, are we really missing that much? I know Ohio State fans are going to have an argument because they're going to say that they had the best team with Justin Fields. And, you know, that's going to be more about the fans to argue about. But, hey, if you're playing on the field and there's a championship to be won, if I win it, I'm the champ. That's how I feel.
Well, that's like me saying that Duke would be the national champion every year because they play, you know, they show up every year. Okay, but I still feel that there's some teams like Michigan that could lollygag and beat somebody to show up. There's some teams, Penn State has knocked on some doors. I just like the big picture, the mustard of it. Nobody wants to see, yes, that's where it's been shaping up here lately. But everybody got their turn to be in the barrel. Alabama will fall off again at some point in time. Clemson will so too. But at the moment, that's what we see. But I can't look at it that way. I always want to say that if we're going to play the game, everybody needs to have a fair chance to continue. Are we just going to call this the pandemic championship?
I like that.
I'm good with that. Roll Tide.
You know a coach going to have a different view, right?
Yeah, you know he had to have a different view about that.
I can't come to the convention and say I played 8 teams and I won a national championship. I got to be able to say I played everybody in the country to say we won a national championship.
Hey, Coach, I hear you, Coach. Marv, you hit it on the head. Last 5 years, ain't none of them teams broke through. But and I'll say this: it certainly is going to be an asterisk because of everything that went on. But legitimate, I would say yes. Asterisk, yes, as well. But legitimate, because even in this year, I don't see a Pac-10 other than Oregon, maybe. And Oregon always seemed to get beat by the 2 of their conference foes at the end of the year and knocks them out. Big Ten, you're right, Coach. Michigan or Ohio State, maybe Penn State. I think Michigan, they got a young quarterback, a little brother that's going to hopefully start for them that might make a difference, dual threat, sort of change up what they've done over this past couple of years. But SEC, ACC, one big Oklahoma, really. We don't even have to say any other Big 12 team, and that's really it. So if those conferences stay, I think it'll be legit, but I certainly think it's an asterisk by it. And hey, we roll with it. So, but hey, a coach gonna say, "No, we all gotta play."
Yeah,
no, Lee talking like the fans. Y'all want to see football so bad that I don't care who wins the championship. They just need to play somebody out there. So when I get up on Saturday morning, I can push my remote and I can kick back in my chair and watch whoever. Right now, it could be Mount Union and
Kentucky State.
Kentucky State. Who cares? They just want to see some football, and I get it. But as a coach, we all would rather for everybody to be involved in it, so you can actually walk around and say, "I won, hands down." Like Clemson, you got to give them their props. You guys are absolutely right with what you're saying, but I'm with Lee. I'm not the answer, but the asterisk gonna be by that championship. It's gonna say pandemic.
Coach, do you think they should change the college football model just for this year? Because the way it's trending right now, if all of the conferences who are still saying they're going to play, it'll be about 6 or 7 conferences out there. Maybe not only 3 of the Power 5, but you could take the conference champion from each conference and have a possible 8-team playoff. That way you give every conference champion anyway a legitimate chance to win, and it'll legitimize it a little bit more instead of doing that ranking the top 4. Because ranking the top 4, I agree with you. If you don't have a Big Ten and a Pac-10, you may be leaving out someone that has a run that should be included. So I think they should tweak the college football playoff and let all the conference champions in, and then play it off that way.
I want you to email me that, because you might be on to something right there, because I don't think nobody's ever looked at it that way. You possibly could get a better picture saying that everybody got a legitimate shot at the pandemic championship. So we want to make sure that we put that into play, because the model I think that the playoff model is not going to work for this particular setup we have. It's not. But as far as has it worked over the years, it has. I think it's been better, even though some people say, let's add 1 more team, let's add 2 more teams. Then we'll get into Division 1AA type playoffs and Division 2 playoffs where it lasts too long. Those kids can't take that. And that's why so many of the kids don't flourish in the NFL, because they already playing. The SEC play a schedule that, especially the West has a schedule that is like a small NFL schedule. They go against the best of the best. Their bodies cannot sustain over that period of time. So it would eliminate them when they get up to 12 and 15 ball games, because their body's going to take off. That's why they give them that long break before they start the bowl period for the national championship. That gives them a lot of chance to heal, get people back healthy. So it can be a legitimate championship game, because if you played it right after you've been playing against LSU, you've had LSU, you've had Tennessee, you've had Mississippi State, you've had, just a gauntlet of a season. Then you got to go to the playoff and play a Clemson or Ohio State, and now you really beat up, and then you turn around and try to play the national championship. That's going to be, if they lose 1 or 2 players, you could have North Dakota State as the champion in the BCS Bowl. I'm just saying, because that's how that works. It's about the healthiest team winning. But I like your model, Lee, and I'm dead serious. Email that to me, because I want to bring that up in a meeting.
I got
Oh Lord, let's move on.
I'm gonna say y'all need to talk to Lee Jones. We got the wrong people at the table. Lee Jones got a plan.
Hey, Mark, I'm not a fool after all, huh?
Yeah, not after all. No, you're not. No, you're not. Hey guys, NCAA President Mark Emmert said Thursday there won't be any NCAA fall champion because of there's not enough schools participating because of the pandemic. It affects 22 championships, including FCS football. How do you guys feel about his decision and kind of moving forward? What do you guys think about this? Lee, start us off with your thoughts.
I don't even care. I'm going to defer to coach here. It doesn't really do anything for me. Honestly, it doesn't. I mean, I think we knew that it was going to be canceled. Them making that announcement means nothing. I just hope that those sports that can play from the fall and go to the spring can. I don't think football can, but those other sports that are lesser sports can play. But I'll defer to you, coach.
I voted for it. No, that we shouldn't play it. So, I mean, I can say that openly now. I feel like that. Like I said, I still feel that way about the BCS. I feel like I can't be a champion if everybody don't play. It's just an unfair champion. So I don't have to really elaborate on this because I've already said how I felt about it, and that's how I feel about FCS, D2, D3. If everybody don't have a shot at it, I don't think it's fair.
Absolutely.
Well, again, it all goes back to money. Last year, the Rose, Sugar Bowl, Orange, Fiesta, Peach, and Cotton Bowls. You know how much that international championship? You know how much money it produced last year? $549 million. 549, and that's divvied up between conferences and schools. So
and then sprinkle them other little bowls in there, Mark. Just sprinkle it. Put the peppers come on.
I mean, the writing was on the wall. We know what this is about, but I mean, this is what was going to happen. That's too much money on the table, man.
So what Lee said, all that don't matter to him because it ain't 549. We ain't seeing none of that.
None of it.
Not a cent. Not
one cent of it.
Not a cent. Not a cent
of it. All right, so we all pretty much in agreement on that. But now let's move on to the one I really want to talk about. All right, Jerry Jones, NFL's most powerful owner, Lee Jones' best friend. Can he remain a staple of the league's public image, considering that the NFL is really trying to reshape their image and basically some of the stances he's had in the past, been a little bit out there. So can he continue to be the face of the league? Lee, come on, man. Start us off with this.
Look, Mark, and I don't deny that I'm a card-carrying Dallas Cowboy fan. All right, I'm card-carrying. Been rolling one for years. Look, I'm disappointed in Jerry Jones. There's no doubt about that. Not saying anything about the Black Lives Movement, in my opinion, was a terrible mistake on his part because he is the face of the owners in the National Football League. Him and Mr. Kraft, really. And then by the Cowboys being worth $5.5 billion, the richest sports franchise, he should have come out and had a comment on Black Lives Matter. The problem is, hell, his comments might have set him back more, because he's rolling with DT some, and so I'm just disappointed in that. His stance on the national anthem. I mean, where the league is trying to be progressive and change their image, Jerry's sort of stuck where he's been. That's not a good place for the America's team, the most visible franchise, the richest franchise. That's not a place for the owner of that. And so I'm disappointed in that. Will he remain the face? He is, because he's Jerry Jones, Bob. To me, that's going to remain the same because his persona, his personality is so big. The man is the only owner that has a news conference after the game. So he's going to continue to do that, and the cameras are going to still be in his face. But I'm extremely disappointed in him as the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, of the way he has conducted himself and over the last 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get the nickname of Shadow Commissioner. I mean, that's basically what you don't get that nickname by keeping your nose out of league affairs. Right, I mean, you get that because you're in the middle of everything. Now all of a sudden you dead silent, and we know where he stood on a lot of things. We know where he stood on the flag and players kneeling. He's a staunch supporter of law enforcement. like you said, Lee, DT, him, they boys. We're gonna say DT. I know everybody know what that means. So and now all of a sudden you silent. Yeah, they got to move away from it.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to take a stand with the obvious direction that the NFL is trying to go with reshaping its image, standing behind players, and you are the de facto commissioner, so to speak, and you said nothing about any of this, you haven't put it on the line. And what does that say to his players? Even though I know the NFL is a lot different than college and the model's a lot different, but what does that say to his players moving forward about, his leadership, his, who he is as a person? What does that say? Although I guess if I kind of think about that differently, if I'm in the league and I'm getting paid, I probably could care less. I don't care as long as you cut me the check. I don't really.
Exactly. That's where I was. I was headed. Nobody cares about what Jerry Jones thinks right now. Jerry Jones can remain silent. Yes, he will still be the face. He said it publicly that he's probably got more support than because he did not waver from who he is. He stood behind. He supports Blue Lives. He supports this. He definitely don't care about what you're talking about with the national anthem. He's not wavering from that. The only thing Jerry Jones needs to do is hire somebody that can teach him how to be more politically correct. He is the biggest face in the NFL. The commissioner's not the biggest face in the NFL.
Sure.
Jerry Jones is the biggest face in the NFL, and Jerry Jones cut some checks, and Jerry Jones making some money, and he do business. They're never going to ostracize him. They're never going to say nothing bad about him. They're not going to get up and talk no trash about him, and everybody knows it. His players are going to continue to run because they wear the most prominent brand on the side of their helmet. America's football team says it the best. He's not going to be disciplined for it. He will have his own press conference after the game. You can get over it, turn the channel, watch somewhere else. Jerry Jones will be Jerry Jones, and everybody knows it. It's no different about it. He didn't, when we had our meeting, he didn't show up because he's Jerry Jones. If you see Jerry Jones, it's like a sight. Dang, y'all saw Jerry? That's how it works. The commissioner is great, but Jerry Jones carries a lot of weight. I don't see them change. I don't see them changing their image with him, and he's going, regardless if they try to change him, he'll change them.
Yeah.
That's the kind of weight he carries.
Yeah, it's just they're going to stick the camera in his face regardless, Marv.
That's right.
That's the sad thing about this one. No matter what the NFL tries to do, Jerry Jones has his own press conference.
There you
After
go.
the games, they're going to come and ask. Just think about this whole year, Marv. After every game Dak Prescott plays this year, they're going to have a microphone in Jerry Jones' face because they're going to be talking about the contract and all that stuff. So as far as him being the face, that's not going to change. It's disappointing. A couple of players, I know Dontari Poe had talked about it. DeMarcus Lawrence had talked about him stepping up and making some comments about Black Lives Matter. He didn't do it, but just them, ostracizing him and him not being the face, that's just not going to happen.
Lee, you said it right there. You can't, because if the media ain't looking about what is Roger Goodell going to do, they talking about what Jerry's doing over there. They don't care about Jerry's going to be that. How many touchdowns? You scored 7 touchdowns. How did you play today? That matters. But Jerry, how do you think Dak played today?
Yeah, there you go.
It's the money. How much money did he make this week? How much did he lose this week? It's going to be a continuing revolving door about Dak's contract this whole year. So it's just not.
You don't have to address it.
I guess the bigger question becomes, how do we keep calling them Dallas America's team when they just draped in mediocrity over the last day? How do we continue? Maybe that's a microcosm of who we are as a country now. We can continue to call them America's team, and they was 8-8 last year. But that's a different subject for a different time.
It's not about the record. I've said this to you many times. It's not about the record. The people that love Allen football will come see Allen football, whether they 1-14, 1 and whatever, or 10-0. They're gonna come see it. When Dallas is on TV, it's going to be the highest rated game that NFL had that year multiple times because of the fan base. In a discussion, Bob, you know this, and you just won't give it up. That's sad, man. It's a disease. That's what it is. It's a disease.
It's a disease.
It's a disease.
And there's no cure for this neither, because it ain't gonna happen. So let's move on. Let's stay with the Cowboys. Your boy Michael Irvin. He said drafting CeeDee Lamb, adding him to the Cowboys offense was like when Golden State added Kevin Durant. Lee, clean this up for me somehow. Let me understand how this is even in the same stratosphere. But go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Because once I clean it up, then I want you and Coach's opinion. Because okay, this is what Michael was saying, and people ran with it and took it a different way. He said adding CeeDee Lamb to Dallas's offense is like adding Kevin Durant to the Golden State Warriors, right, Marv? So, number one, Dallas had the number one offense in the league last year. The number one offense in the league last year. So what he said, and Golden State that year was the best team. They won 73 games that year in the league, Marv. So they added KD. Now, remember, Golden State didn't win anything that year. They lost to Cleveland. Dallas was 8-8, as you always want to lay it out. So they didn't win anything either. But they added Durant, and they won the next year. Dallas added arguably the best receiver in the league, who, Coach, you got to admit, and I'm interested to see what you have to say. Adding CeeDee Lamb to that receiving core and that offense, oh my God, they were number one last year. Think what they're going to be this year. That's the parallel that Michael Irvin was saying, that people thought, well, they were only 8-8. What's this going to? He was talking about the offense and how adding CeeDee Lamb takes them to another stratosphere, another level, the same way that the Warriors did when they got KD. Come on, Mark. Did I help you out?
You did wonderful. CeeDee Lamb, in my book, adding him to that offense, he's really good. I don't care what nobody says. He's a difference maker and a player. He's a deep ball threat. He's an underneath threat. He's physical. He's kind of like Michael. His yak yards are impossible. He can catch a drag and go, 80 yards on it. It's just something about that kid is special. And I think that just what he said, what he talked about, what Michael was trying to get the world to see, that they just added another phenomenal weapon, that he's not just a deep ball threat. He's a possession receiver, and he's a scat back all in one. So you're talking about a guy that you can get the ball to, and he can do something with it. And he's proven that year after year. It's not something that nobody's made up. It's something that the numbers show that he's good, just like it was with KD. KD went to a place where he just added value to what they were doing. As he said, Dallas was the number one offense, and they got good people there. But adding that piece to him make you have to change the way you cover people now. You're going to have to add somebody to stop these, and it's going to create space for other people.
So,
and the running game is already decent. So it's going to get even better.
Hold on,
man.
Have to empty them boxes out.
Hey, Mark, hold on.
I got.
Hey, Coach, go to HR after this. You're a regular on the show. We want to hire you right now publicly. Yeah, Mark, send him to HR so we can get the paperwork signed, okay?
So let me add a little perspective to this CeeDee Lamb / Dallas Cowboy love fest we got going on right now. So I know I got a coach with a lot of experience that is on this panel right now.
All right.
Coach, would you tell me that competition matters when you evaluate people? Would you tell me that as a coach?
Yes, level of competition matters.
Matters. Okay. All right. So just keep that in mind when I kind of go into this. All right. So last time we saw CeeDee Lamb, he was getting his ass kicked by LSU. LSU put 63 points up on him. He went up against the freshman from LSU all game, no help. He had him all game, that freshman quarter from LSU. How many receptions?
But he is arguably one of the best quarters.
Okay, no, let me finish. This is going to be my point, right? Arguably, as a freshman, one of the best corners in the league. He had 4 catches, non-existent in that football game. And don't tell me Jalen Hurts couldn't get him the football, because he was getting him the football all year. Now, keep moving on. How many first rounders have the Big 12 had since 2015 in the NFL draft? How many first rounders has the Big 12 produced on defense? How many? Y'all go ahead. I'll
wait. Probably.
Texas
probably was the last.
Somebody tell me. How many first rounders has the Big 12 produced?
Hold on.
No, you're
Hold on.
taking one game. You're doing
No.
one game.
No. What I'm doing,
LSU,
what I'm
LSU
saying to you.
D-line was arguably one of the best in the
Hold
country.
on, but what I'm saying to y'all is how do you evaluate someone who every year is going up against statistically the worst defenses that we have ever seen? The best defense they played last year was outside of LSU was Baylor. Baylor that was 45th in the they was giving up 360 yards a game in passing. That's the best team that he faced outside of whenever he played. So juxtapose that to somebody like Jerry Jeudy. We just gonna say that because they was in the same draft. How many SEC first rounders came out of defense last year from the SEC?
Marv,
A lot.
A lot.
Not,
We're gonna let you finish, though. We're gonna let you finish. Go on, finish.
But I'm saying you every year we see these Big 12 guys come out wide receiver. The guy that came out from TCU that the Dotson that the Redskins drafted. You don't know where he at right now. Give me a Big 12 wide receiver right now over the past 3 years that you saying that has come in and done work. Name one.
Marv,
Name one. No, answer my question. Answer.
That's not the question.
That is the question. The question are
in the country.
The question are that all of the Big 12, their stats are inflated, and everybody who evaluated him said that when he went up against top flight corners, he struggled
I ain't never
every
heard
time.
that. I ain't never heard that.
That was the whole question.
Coach is an evaluator of talent, Marv. He's an evaluator of talent.
if I'm in the NFL, I'm at the Dallas Cowboys. They made the right pick.
Oh, that's no
Jerry
doubt.
Jones,
You know-
I'll pat you on the back there. He made the right pick. But I would have took Judy too now. I would have took some other guys. But what I'm saying is, for what they got going on as the Cowboys, you got to think about the fit for.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about I'm gonna switch to basketball. You could have said that because what's the light skinny guy to shoot all the threes?
Klay Thompson.
Because he played at Davidson. I mean, no, I'm talking about
Steph Curry.
Steph Curry. We could say Steph played at Davidson. I mean, he didn't play against the greatest of talents, but he still performed in the
Wrong. In the NC, Steph Curry took Steph Curry took a Davidson team to the NCAA championship and almost made the Sweet 16, averaging over 35 against the best competition in the tournament. So that's that's not right.
Because it's not a total team game.
Oh, now we changing the argument.
One player can make a difference, but CeeDee Lamb is going to add great value to them because they can put him in the slot. He don't have to carry the team. You talking about LSU? Their D-line, Oklahoma did not have a run game. They don't have arguably no other players that can play. That offensive line.
They play
that
7-on-7.
That's right. That offensive line is arguably one of the worst. They have made it work. And CeeDee Lamb was a big part of that. And as a coach, you cannot deny, man, regardless of who he was playing against. Yeah, you know, I can say when you were at Armo, you weren't playing against the Orangeburgs and some of them hood teams, but you still was right.
Actually, we did. Actually, we did. That's what put us on the map because we went to work on them too. But you know, I'm just saying, y'all fall in love with CD.
Coach is right though, because Dallas's offense. You got Amari Cooper over here. You got Gallup on the other side. You got the tight end Jarwin who can catch the ball. CeeDee Lamb is going to be going up against the third best corner on their team, on the opposing team, in a one-on-one environment, and his after the catch, big time yak after the catch, and not to mention,
it's the
we're
Big
talking
12,
about how it's shaping
everybody
Dallas'
got yak.
Mark. Zeke is going to have a phenomenal year because of all of that mess outside. That's why the comparison is a great comparison. And all these people that are saying that it's not, they're looking at Dallas's record and not necessarily Dallas's offense. Dallas's offense is going to go to another level. That's all I'm saying.
I can't wait.
And Jerry Jones is not talking about nothing else because he want to play football because he think he got a chance at winning the Super Bowl.
Absolutely, Coach. Absolutely. He
I
really.
promise you that he thinks he got.
But he wouldn't pay his black quarterback though.
Well, Marv, I had look. Hey, Vincent, if you out there, man, you know I love you. You're still my boy. We had a big argument about Dak the other day. Man, Dak don't get paid. Marv,
Why didn't he?
I'll tell you something, man. Yeah,
Why do you fit? Why can't you argue about that? The Patriots didn't pay
Tom Brady.
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton been injured,
You
man.
just said they didn't pay their black quarterback. Well, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's a business. We don't have a seat at that table. We don't know what they were thinking and why they didn't pay him. All we're looking at is the Black Lives and all this other stuff. There may be other reasons why they did not pay him because of salary cap purposes or whatever. He may need some defensive players next year, and he didn't want to allocate that kind of money to one person.
Hey, Marv, they didn't have to necessarily sign that. See, what people don't understand, Dallas is in the same boat.
Don't have revisionist history here, Lee. Don't have revisionist history now because I know Lamondre can pull the tapes. Lamondre can pull the tapes now.
Raquel's going to say it too. That's not what you said. Okay, I was wrong. And I reserve the right to be wrong every now and then. But they're in the same boat next offseason as they was this offseason where they can pay Dak, franchising. That's going to happen. Marv, I'm 98% sure that I'm confident that Dak Prescott will be the Dallas.
Like I said, the beauty of it, we're going to be able to watch this play out.
Absolutely.
I'm going to love to watch this play out and prove myself right. You know, I may not have.
All I can say is answer your phone on Sundays when they racking up these yards. Don't be. Hey, I was busy. I had to.
No. I don't want to see yards. I want to see championships from Dallas. I don't need arbitrary yards that don't mean anything to me. Dallas needs to win championships at this point. They got everything in place. There are no excuses at this point. Give me a championship, Dallas. That's what I need. I don't need a lot of numbers.
Hey, Mark, we have a caller. Caller, please state your name and tell us what you want to talk to us about today.
Just wanted to make a comment. Good show. Hope you guys have Coach on again. Lee, you and him make a good combo. Thank you.
Dang, I don't get no love. I mean, I don't get no love for anything. Okay.
Well, we appreciate you. We really appreciate you.
You're like the mad rapper, Marvin. You just don't understand. I mean, I don't like Dallas. I'm a New England Patriots fan. For the world to know. But at the end of the day, Dallas is creating something over there that I'm a little weary about right now. And I'm talking about that offense your defense is gonna have to come with it because you don't have to play CeeDee Lamb on the outside no more. You can play him in the slot. And a linebacker got to cover it. A safety gonna have to double team it, which gonna create opportunities. If you have Amari Cooper, they're gonna be wide open now, and it's gonna be hard for you to do that. Somebody's gonna end up in one-on-one coverage, and when you got that many weapons, that can happen. And then that, if he do that, as you said, they do need to win a championship. I agree totally. But at the end of the day, what we're arguing about is whether CeeDee Lamb was a great pick for those people. He is a great guy for that team. We'll talk about championships later on.
I mean, I had to pull Lee out. He's so passionate about Dallas. I had to get him off the subject, get him into something else. Okay.
But no, it's gonna be a good season.
Maybe he was a good pick, but we'll let this play out and we'll see. All right. So let's move on to the NBA, guys. What are your thoughts about today's game between Memphis and Portland? Who do you think is going to win this one for the AC? It's the play-in game today. Lee, give me your thoughts about that one to start off.
Yeah, I love Ja Morant, man. Love the young talent that Memphis has, right? They're coming. They got to add some pieces next year. But man, Dame has just been on a tear, man. I mean, Dame, wow. I mean, Mark, they were picking him up as soon as he come across half court the other night. Yeah. And Brooklyn didn't have anything to play for, but Dame still lit them up, man. It's just, I don't think Memphis has a chance. I think they're going to win this game. And then, for me, Lakers, boy, you better come prepared. I like the Lakers, but I don't think Memphis has a chance. I love Ja. Ja's a superstar regardless. I like the boy, Brandon Clark, the other boy from Michigan State. He's Jackson. Great. So they have great, Jackson. They have great young talent at Memphis, but I think they've done as much as they can, and I think it's over today. And Portland will get that AC today, and then it's going to be a hell of a first round, Portland and the Lakers, man.
It's going to be interesting because Portland needs to beat Memphis today. They don't want to play again tomorrow. I think they would play Monday, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I think it's Monday.
I mean tomorrow, whatever they play.
Whatever.
They need to beat Memphis today. And I think it's going to be telling maybe in the first 3 to 5 minutes of this game because Portland has expended a lot of energy to get to this point.
Yeah.
Dame has gone crazy for the last week or so to get them to a point to be able to be in this play-in game. So legs, fatigue. I'm going to be interested to see how Portland starts this game. I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people think because I do think that Portland had to expend a lot of energy. You know, the environment is different. If Memphis had the Jackson kid, I might even pick Memphis for this game just because. But I think Portland will end up, because it just got too much, I think they will end up pulling away. I don't think Ja is there yet to lead a team and to kind of do this. But if I'm Portland, I need to get rid of Memphis today because I need a little bit of rest going into this Lakers series. So, but I watch that first 3 to 5 minutes. If you see some jumpers coming up short, you know, if you see some easy points, Ja beating people to the basket, some easy breakaways and layups for Memphis, it could be a long game for Portland. So I'm curious about that first 3 to 5 minutes.
And Mark, I don't like Portland defensively though. That's the coach. That's what I don't like about Portland defensively. They just don't buckle down and play, man. That's the only knock I have against Portland.
I had a chance. I don't really like basketball because I was too short and they never picked me to play even in the pickup league. So I'm just gonna throw my 2 cents in. So as I was preparing for this show, I went back to YouTube and I watched the game. Marvin is exactly right about how far Portland has put the energy to get to where they got to go. And Lee, I'm going to piggyback off what you said. The one thing I think about Memphis is 1 or 2 players away from being a pretty good basketball program. I had the chance to go watch Memphis play a year ago when we went to the coaching convention. They were, having a preseason game, and I thought they were horrible. And so they played Houston. I thought they were horrible because they didn't have, but now I've seen the growth from the time I watched them to this point now. But Portland has to play defense better in order to have a chance to advance anywhere further past where they're going, because when they get to the Lakers, I mean, I even like the Brooklyn Nets right now because the Nets are playing pretty doggone good. I watched 5 games last night from 2 in at 5, feeding my baby and watching basketball just to catch up so I can have something to add to this. But I think Marvin is absolutely correct. They will have to put Memphis away today because Memphis can, if they take them to another game, they can fool around and beat them only because they got good hustle. They play a little bit faster than Portland plays. They playing a little faster. And I think the 3 to 5 minutes you're talking about, Marvin, gonna tell a lot because when you see, I just don't understand how Portland they let them stay around too long. They just let people play with them. They trade baskets. They don't know how to pull away with people. And I think that's what I'm going to watch the game personally today at 2:00 just to see what happens in the game.
And when you talk about taking that next step, we all know that Dame can score. He's one of the best scorers in the league. But when you talk about taking that next step in your game, what do I see from Damian Lillard in those first 3 to 5 minutes today? Does he put this team on his back to send a statement to Memphis? We not playing today. Give me the rock. Let me take us where we need to go. Or he tends to fade sometimes. He tends to pick and choose his spots. Most killers, as we know, they put people away early, especially when it comes to deciding games. And I'm interested to see how he comes out today. Because CJ McCollum, to me, and it was a good point, Lee, he can score, but he's a liability defensively.
Yeah.
He's
defensively terrible.
Yeah, he's a big liability defensively. Gary Trent, he's a streaky shooter. If he's hot, he's going to kill you. But if he's not, he's also kind of a liability defensively. So Portland, with all the upside that they have, they got a lot of things that are deterrent to them kind of moving forward through the playoffs too. But let me say one more thing about that. The one person, though, that people said he was dead and he needed to retire, Carmelo Anthony, I got to give him props because he's been the person who's done whatever this team has needed. He's rebounded, he's defended, he's hit some clutch shots, and he's really taken on a role of being that third guy, and he's embraced it. And I really like what I see from Carmelo. And I think that if Portland advances and Carmelo, probably you may start to see some of that older Carmelo, or maybe even today. Maybe Carmelo takes the role to say, you know what, let me take us to this next round. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Lee, I think you want to say something.
Well, I want him to post. You know how the Knicks used to post Carmelo up all the time because, for me with Dame, he exerts so much energy on the offensive end, running around. It hurts his defense. I just like to see him because Carmelo, he get out of bed scoring, right?
Yeah.
Post him up, do more ISO with him. Let Carmelo do his thing because he's on, man. And you're right. To me, the most valuable player, well, the one we have to watch is C.J. McCollum. Because if he's not scoring, then why is he out there?
Why is he out there?
Play defense. And then the last thing I'll say, Mark, I want to get your opinion on this. Whiteside or Nurkic? Because while Nurkic, he can score better than Whiteside, he's going to play in the defense. He don't protect the rim the way a guy 7 feet should. Whiteside will. And it's a give and take with those two. Like down the stretch against Brooklyn, I thought Whiteside should have been in there to protect the rim more than the other guy. Well, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, I like Whiteside too, but I get it with the way Portland plays. The space and pace. Like, they want space, and Nurkic allows them to let Dame and them come off those pick and rolls, and he can step back and he can consistently hit that three if you leave it open. So he's more conducive to the way that they want to play. But in the playoffs and moving forward, Lee, I think you make a good point. Whiteside might be more valuable to them moving forward, especially against the Lakers.
Yeah, fouls.
Because he got enough scoring with Dame, and if McCollum is hitting and some of the other guys with Carmelo. So Nurkic to me is a liability defensively, but I understand what they try to do with him because of the way they play. But I think you're going to see down the stretch if Portland makes a run, I think you'll see Whiteside logging probably more minutes than Nurkic at some point. Because you're just going to need that rim protector. You're going to need some physicality. Nurkic, he's just not there yet.
Yeah.
All right.
Madre, any comments out there? Anything?
We do have a comment. We do have a comment, one comment from YouTube, and it's for Coach Keaton. And the question is, do you think Cam will be done if he doesn't perform well this season?
Good question.
Yes, that's the reason why they signed him to the contract deal they signed him to. They needed to see, especially in New England, we don't take people long if you can't perform. So this is kind of like one of those, he had a lot of great success in Carolina, and I think he did a great job there, but I think that they wanted to feature the running back there. So now he has an opportunity with a great offensive line, some pretty decent receivers around him, a Super Bowl caliber program. How does he perform in that environment will determine his career in the NFL. If he does not do well here, he'll be removed, and we'll no longer talk about Cam Newton. He'll join a talk show somewhere, and he'll talk about being Superman.
Coach, I think Belichick is quietly, very quietly gushing about Cam because
that's right.
I think they see that he's all the way back healthy, and I think Belichick ain't gonna give you much anyway. He ain't gonna give you, but I think they know that they got something in Cam.
They did
to throw because the way they're going to play, and you know this better than I do, you're a Patriots fan, they're going to run that football, they're going to play action, they're going to get Cam involved in that pass, the run game a little bit, but their defense is another thing that's going to help. This is probably the only thing I would like for them to do, Coach, and you can help me on this, I'd like for them to sign Dez Bryant because I think Dez Bryant as a possession receiver for them would be an excellent pickup for them. Come on, Mark, I'm just trying to help out. See that? Come on, man.
That cowboy carrying card. What that is?
Well, what's going to happen here is they're never going to sign Dez Bryant. Belichick is kind of like one of those people that you got to dig deep to find out. And I subscribe to all their lives. I try to listen to what he's trying to do, the whole nine. And I can see right now, whatever Dez did while he was there, it wasn't enough to impress Belichick. And he's one of the few people that has total control of what he's doing as far as a GM and picking players. He has total control over that. I thought that Dez would be a good fit in a Belichick type place so that he could be controlled because I've watched Randy Moss and all these other guys that come through there that Belichick has been able to keep them quiet and other people have not been able to control them. I think people come to New England for one reason, and that's to win a Super Bowl. And I think Cam is so focused right now that Cam is not going to let this opportunity dwindle down because that's the type of environment that they have set for them. And I think he's there with the players, and the players already have a championship mindset, and they're going to boost each other up. And that's why they keep everything so closed circle. Unlike the Cowboys, which is a media surrounds them, Jerry Jones let it come. Belichick don't want no parts of that, and he keeps it a hidden mystery. And I think that's going to help Cam and not have him expressing himself in a different type, fashion. Where he got, I think Carolina in his contract, they muted him a little bit. So he acted out as far as wearing hats and scarves and gloves and things like that because he couldn't express or say what he wanted to say. And it's going to be like that in New England, but you're going to see a whole different Cam.
He got a lot to prove.
He got a lot to prove, and he don't want to go down as this is the way my career ended. He's got too much ego for that. I think that he's going to go out and he's going to perform at the best ability. And it's going to be interesting how the coordinators adjust to him because he can run the ball, he can throw it, and he got a few weapons, but we still don't have a deep ball threat guy. And that's what's scary about and Cam throws the deep ball better than probably 90% of the quarterbacks that play in the NFL.
Wasn't Josh McDaniel in Denver when Tebow won that championship game or the playoff game? Can you imagine what he's gonna do with Cam right now? I'm just saying. And there's a sign they just signed Lamar Miller, I think, which not many people are talking about. They got a three-headed with Sony, Lamar, and everybody raving about Damian Harris, the Alabama kid. There's a lot of different things they can do offensively now with Cam. I'm really excited to see the dynamics and what they kind of put together for Cam. But that loss on defense though, man, when Hightower opted out, that's what scares me a little bit. He was a quarterback of that defense. That's a big loss for them.
But the way the NFL is coming back, trying to structure what Lee Jones talked about earlier, about 4 or 5 shows ago, about following the bubble of the NBA and those things, I think the NFL is trying to figure out a way because some of their best players have opted out.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out, well, okay, that was their wake-up sign there. We got to do something differently if we want our kids to participate. So if we want to put a good product out here, we're going to have to figure out a way to spend that money. As Lee likes to say, we got to spend that money. We got to cut the check. So they're going to cut the check. And those guys that we saw opt out by week 2 or week 3, they'll be back into the bubble because they got to see what's going to happen.
Yeah,
I think it's all going to fall back into place, and NFL will take off, and it will be as prosperous as NBA has been doing because they're now. I saw where a guy got cut from the Seattle
Seahawks
team for sneaking his girlfriend in the thing. That's how serious they're about trying to make this work.
Yeah. There's one little caveat to add to that, though, that we're not talking about when it comes to New England is that conference in the lay down conference anymore, though. That conference is a little bit different now. I mean, so it's a different dynamic for New England this year.
I think New England's going to win that hands down. I don't have any trust in the Allen kid at Buffalo. None. I don't have any trust in Sam Darnold at the Jets. Now, like we talked about a couple of shows ago,
with Miami,
I think will emerge out of that Eastern Conference is Miami.
Yeah,
I think Miami's going to take a little time to get it. But I love their coach, and I just think Miami got a lot. The thing that scares me is their receiving core because they've been hurt. But Miami is going to be a tough out. I don't. The Allen kid coach, he doesn't do anything for me. He's not an accurate passer. And so no, he doesn't do anything for me.
If Miami can stay out of the locker room where they hurt in the training room, there's going to be something to reckon with, and that was the biggest key. I don't know what Pittsburgh's doing. I don't know. They still haven't recovered from the Dez Bryant fiasco. I think it's just time for them to find another quarterback. That's just my opinion. I think it's time for them to add a little bit. They got enough senior leadership, with players. I think they need to get some young guys and get some good draft picks to help their offense out. Their defense is always going to be solid. It's still solid. I think they need to get some more picks to help their offense, and then it'll be we could talk about Pittsburgh maybe being able to compete against New England, but New England is probably the most well-rounded team there. And the only person that knows Belichick real good is Brian Flores. He knows him well because he's been the linebacker coach there. Absolutely. So he knows what he's thinking, how he thinks. He's going to implement some of those same strategies over into Miami. Yeah. And, somebody said, I was telling this to somebody the other day, and they were mad at me because I said it. And they was talking about, well, it didn't happen in Detroit. Well, I said, well, sometimes at this time when you're at a point and he's a black man, and like I'm a black man, Brian Flores, no, he don't have much time on that clock. So guess what he's gonna do? He's gonna work a little bit harder than the guy over here at West End, because he can go 0-12 and he might have a job next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we
Good
do have
point.
one more. We do have one more YouTube comment, and it's from Sarnay Fields, and it says, "I think somebody needs to pick up Terrell Owens."
I mean, just because we saw him running a fast 40 time, I don't know if that means he can. But listen, go ahead, Lee. Go ahead.
I'll say this about T.O. I've never seen a person. I mean, this guy, every time you see him, Mark, he's always in shape. I mean, this guy takes care of his. I don't know if he eats carrots every day and squash and all that shit, but I mean, T.O. is one of my favorite football players of any time because, yeah, the outside annex were you know, but the guy produced every place he went. Every place he went, and they sort of blackballed him, or he would even be higher on the list. Well, while I think that won't happen, anybody picking up T.O., I would give him a good chance if someone did to come in and help a team, because he's always in shape, and the guy, his hands, Mark, are so huge.
Yeah.
So I like T.O. I don't think that'll happen, but I do like him. I like him a
lot. I don't think it'll happen, but let me tell you, I would take T.O. before I bring Antonio Brown in. I'll tell you that.
I would have to say that there's nobody who's going to waste any salary cap money on a T.O.
Yeah, it's
not going to happen.
Yeah.
He's proven himself as a fan of T.O. Yes, I would love to have it, but as a coach or a general manager, a personality person that you got to handle, I don't think anybody needs that in their locker room at this moment in time. And then he will probably be injury prone a little bit more because I don't care what they say. That age is going to take effect. These young kids are built a little bit different. I don't care how much he can run a 40, but can he run a 40 and get tattooed across the middle of the field and be able to play the next play? I don't know about that.
Bob, you what you just said was blasphemy, okay? Antonio Brown, come on, man.
Look,
yeah, you can say around mid-season, somebody gonna get a steal with Antonio Brown. It ain't gonna be my Cowboys because we don't need him. But I hope Baltimore does, because somebody gonna get a steal with Antonio. Man, the guy is just that talented.
We gonna leave it at that. Let's finish up with this Portland thing again, though, because Portland, if they win and they beat Memphis and they move forward, what do we think their chances are moving forward in the NBA playoffs? Do we see Portland as a viable contender for coming out of the West, or do you think this is just as far as they'll go? Coach, you shaking your head. Go on, start us off with that.
If what I saw on TV, if they don't get that defense together, it's over for them. They better just hope they can get one more win and move on about their business and play 8 more games. But when they get to the Lakers and the rest of those teams that's playing good defense, good offensive ball, they whipping the ball around the court. I don't know. Portland just look a tad slow on defense. They just look like you can just do what you want. LeBron can drive to the hole when he get ready to. It's not happening there. I can't see that. They need something. Something's missing. I haven't watched them hard enough, but I am going to watch today.
Yeah.
But I don't think they've done enough. They're a good team. Don't get it twisted.
Mm-hmm.
But defensively, I'm not sold on them. It's just like Memphis. Memphis is a good team. They just need a few more players. But the Lakers are really on fire. I think they're a good team. I told you my 2 teams I like. I like Brooklyn, and I don't know why I like Brooklyn, but I like them. They was playing good ball
because they play hard.
Yeah.
And I like the Lakers. I can see those 2 teams, whatever happens in them, but Portland, absolutely not.
Yeah. This is hard for me, because if Portland is shooting the ball well, they can beat anybody in the NBA any night, right? The Lakers series, if they win against Memphis, is interesting to me because they don't have anybody that can match up with LeBron, or even slow him down, because he's going to have the ball the majority of the time. They got enough bodies to make it interesting against AD. But here it goes. If we're doubling LeBron all game and forcing LeBron to find shooters, and the Lakers can't shoot the ball better than what they've shot it over the last, I guess, few weeks, and Portland shooting it well, the Lakers are in trouble. And that's just a fact, because if the Lakers can't knock down shots, because Portland is going to double somebody. It's either going to be LeBron. It's either going to be, if I'm Portland, I'm doubling AD. I'm making everything difficult for AD. I'll let LeBron score 35, 36 points in a game, because that's not his strong suit. Teams win when LeBron is a facilitator. When every team he's been on, when he facilitates and scores in that mid to high 20s, he's very successful. When he's a primary scorer, his wins dwindle a bit. So I don't know. I think Portland is still, just like you said, Coach, defensively, I just don't think they can turn it on enough to get stops. And when you rely so heavily on guys shooting a three, it's going to leave you at some point. It's just like with Houston. It leaves you at some point, and you got to have something to fall back on.
What else do you got?
What else do you got? And if you can't fall back on getting stops on the other end while you cold, you in trouble. You in trouble. Go ahead, Lee.
But they miss Ariza, man. They miss.
They do. Yeah, they do.
Because they don't have an own body defender that can stop anybody. Now, LeVert may have ate Ariza, but Ariza he gonna get up on you. He gonna body. He gonna be got them long arms, and so that's my only thing about them. But I will say this: that legacy is gonna go a long way. It's not gonna be a quick series, because what you say, Mark, they ain't gonna be on for at least two, 3 games.
Yeah.
It's just the way. That's just who he is. Now, he may fan out like he did, but he gonna be on. And you're right. If the Lakers don't hit open shots, because they're gonna have plenty of open 3-point shots. Mm-hmm. If they don't hit that series could go long, and it could be some trouble for them. So it's gonna be interesting, because you got the ultimate scorer against the ultimate team player.
Yeah.
In LeBron.
Absolutely.
And then you got the X factor in AD. And so it's gonna be that's gonna be probably the best series of all the first rounders.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, guys, we've come to that time. We've had some great conversations.
Don't forget your paperwork now. Don't forget your paperwork. Fill it out.
We've talked a lot of good things, but we're gonna have some closing comments real quick. What we typically do. I guess I'll start it off. Everybody pay attention to that Portland-Memphis game today, and pay attention to that first few minutes of the game. Like I said, that 3 to 5 to 6 minute mark, and see which Portland team you see when it starts. If you see Dame coming out and he's making shots, I think they blow Memphis out today. But if they start off slow, I think that's a bad sign for Portland, and I think that Memphis wins the game if they don't start out fast. And I think that's going to affect them, even if they win the second game, Portland, going into that Lakers series. So watch that first 3 to 5 minutes of that game today. Keep an eye on Dame and how Portland comes out, because I think that's going to be a telling sign on how this goes.
I'm going to go, Coach. We're going to give you the last word on the show today. But y'all don't forget about our new time beginning next Wednesday, 8 to 9. And then we're going to come at you for an hour Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We love you. Y'all, our audience, keep rolling with us. But my thing is, Marv, it's just tragic how college football administrators are treating these college athletes. Syracuse, come on, man. How can you say you're going to test people biweekly and think that that's going to make a difference in them as far as this season going on? It's tragic. It's sad, because it doesn't have to be this way. And if you're going to have football, as a lot of us want football to happen, you should take the time and really, really invest in making it safe for these players. If you don't do that, just scrap it all, because this is sad. So my deal is, shame on Syracuse, shame on Florida State. I think Pittsburgh had an issue with testing as well. And if you want to have football, get it right.
Coach, close us out, man.
Well, this is where I'm going to close you out. I want you, after we focus our attention in on the Memphis and Portland game, I want you to stay on YouTube, Marvin, and I want you to look up CeeDee Lamb. And I want you to go back and I want you to watch some of those highlights. And I want you to watch, I also want you to go back and I want you to watch a few Dallas Cowboy games, the ones you skip over because you want to watch Kansas City play.
Yeah.
And I need you to really focus in on and see why I say that Dallas made a good pick on what they're doing. And then I hope it will cure your disease of hating the Dallas Cowboys. And as long as Jerry Jones is breathing, and even after he dies, it will always be America's football team.
That's just the way it is.
You-
Lamondre, you have anything for us?
No, we're good. Good show and some really lively conversation. And yeah, I kind of agree that Dallas will always be America's team.
See there.
well, you know,
Get your
We'll-
prescription. That's all I can say.
we'll
I'm
see.
a Dallas fan.
We'll see. But with Coach Keith giving me that, he wants me to go back and do this homework. I'll do it because all the years of experience that he has, I'm gonna do it. But it doesn't mean that I'm gonna agree, but I will do the work. So with that being said, appreciate you guys joining us. Remember, next Wednesday, we're going to be on at 8:00 from 8 to 9, and then moving forward, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. So, keep rolling with us, as Lee said. Subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook. We got some good debates here. So we're just trying to keep the sports talk rolling and talk about things that are also important when it comes to the world of sports. So
Tell a friend. And we negotiating with Coach Keaton right now. Hopefully he's gonna sign the deal.
yeah, he asking for a lot, but we'll see if we can make it happen. So
All right.
I'm Marvin Orange, of course.
CD Lamb.
for Lee-
CD.
For Lee Jones, Coach Teddy Keaton, head men's football coach at Allen University. For Raquel M.R. Thomas, I know she's out there.
What's up, Raquel? We forgot to mention you.
That's right. So Raquel handling her business, and always in the background, LP. We appreciate you guys joining us, and we'll see you next Wednesday, 8:00 for another episode of After the Buzzer Sports Podcast. Peace.